We're live.
Happy Tuesday, August 12th. Good morning, good afternoon, Power Warriors, Solar Warrior Tribe, Power Hitters, all of our solar power family. If you're watching this recording, hit like, comment, share this video. We're coming to you live today for our Tuesday team training, and I'm joined, of course, by my co-host, Mr. Tom Cotter. How we doing,
Good
Tom?
morning, Jonathan. Good afternoon, everybody else who's in Central and East Coast time zone here. It's yeah, it's almost halfway through August already. I can't believe it. We're getting closer and closer to the tax credit going away.
Uh-oh, that's right. Yeah, I think the last 30, 45 days we've seen a lot of uptick in jobs sold, so I'm pretty excited.
Yeah. Yep, I got two so far this week and should have hopefully two or three more.
All right, so as we always do, we'll transition here to success stories. So I want to give you a few seconds to think of a win that you've had in the last week or two. Maybe you had a good conversation, tax credit, an ambassador, someone gave you a referral because they heard the tax credit is ending, you signed a deal, had an install, anything at all. You recently joined here, you got a recruit. Give us some success stories. Raise your hand, come off of mute, type one in the chat, and we will start with Cynthia. Go for it.
Hey guys, good morning. I had a friend from high school yesterday sign up for his solar, and he told me it was because I posted about the tax credit several times and it kept reminding him to reach out to me. And so, yeah, that was a big win. It just encouraged me to keep posting, even though sometimes we don't get a lot of likes or engagement. People are definitely watching. So that was a big win.
Nice, awesome. Good reminder to keep posting about the tax credit and the urgency that and the story that we have right now. Thank you, thank you. I know we have a lot of other wins out there. A lot of deals are being sold, a lot of proposals. We're going to be doing hundreds and hundreds of deals this month, guys. So, Justin, you got something for us?
I do.
What's going on?
Hey, hi everybody. So had an interesting one that put through on Friday last week, and when I get a lead or tagged on a lead or anything like that, when I go through the discovery call, I have a list that I try to stay pretty diligent on going through to make sure I have all the information. Whether it be breaker panel information, roof age, all this kind of stuff. And one of the questions is, do you have any other properties? And so I had actually helped a lead, maybe it's probably been a month ago or something that, I helped him. And I don't know if I was in a hurry at the time, but I didn't ask that question. Do you have any other properties? And it was a 4 kilowatt flat roof close to Boston kind of thing. Um, so it's like loaded with adders and all this, so it was like not even really that like super profitable of a job. And, but then I was working with him through the change order process and some of that stuff. And he goes, oh, and by the way, and him and his wife have a house, that's like their main property, needs a ton more solar, has a much bigger electric bill. And I completely almost let that slip through the crack, or I guess I did let that slip through the cracks, and I kind of got lucky. But I guess this is my thing to say. Number one, it's a huge win because they went solar on that house as well. Um, and that to stay diligent in your process and don't cut corners.
That's awesome, Justin. Yeah, congrats. At what point do you ask that question in your intake, onboarding, like sales call?
Like toward the very end. Um,
Okay.
because I don't want them to be like, oh, this guy's just like poking around for opportunities or anything like that. So it's probably one of the last questions that I ask. Um, after I'm trying to help them with what they're really asking about and trying to help their concern first.
Awesome. Nice work. Thanks, Justin.
Good
Thank you.
job. Thanks for sharing that, Justin.
All right. Do we have one more success story, win, share out there? Feel free to also type it in the chat, but don't be shy.
I got one I'll share real quick. I've got a proposal tomorrow for a guy in San Jose, California, and he is he has plans within the next year and a half to add a heat pump. He's adding 600 square feet to his house, and it's my little AI thing for today, Jonathan. I actually asked ChatGPT to help me write a prompt for ChatGPT, acting as a home energy efficiency modeling expert. And so I got that prompt, and then it was it wrote a prompt for itself that was amazing. But I put in the Zillow, a PDF of Zillow, opened up the home details. So it saw the year it was built, the square footage, the zip code, which had the climate zone. It had all that stuff in it. And then I had their 12-month usage history for gas and electric. I put all that in there with this prompt, and it spit out this amazing thing of, month by month with reduced or increased kilowatt hours, reduction in therms on the gas side. So I was really impressed with it, and I put it together in a spreadsheet and sent it over to him. So we're going to talk about that on the call tomorrow. But that was a win to kind of figure that out, because normally it's something that I've been kind of manually computing, and to have a prompt now that it's too big to post in the chat. But to have a prompt to do all that, it's pretty cool.
Of course you did, Tom. No surprises. No surprises there, as we all learn and adopt more ChatGPT. It's changing the world, y'all, so definitely pay attention, please. All right, let's do some future trainings and updates here. So we had a great Tesla training last week, and we'll share the recording out today or tomorrow for that Tesla training. Tom, what is on the 14th August? Good Leap training?
Yeah, it's our Good Leap partner training. We do this a few times a month. So I thought this would be a good one to include here as a follow-up to John Wilson's TPO PPA lease training today. So
Perfect.
you can get some of the tactical stuff, kind of hands-on things from John today, and then some of the more kind of, Good Leap specific things on Thursday.
Awesome. So that's this Thursday. And then next week, we'll put a bow tie on top of all of this with some Danny Pesci closing school training on our Tuesday call next week. Stay tuned for that. And then what's on the 21st Thursday?
So this is a new day for a New England market development meeting. We do this twice a month now, every other week. And David Ringo and Justin, that you heard the win from a few minutes ago, Shaquan and myself are going to be jumping into New England market development meeting. We're going to be doing some talk about lead generation. For those of you in California, it's a market where net metering still exists, and some other pretty cool things about that market. I think it's going to be a great market, for the coming years, especially as we kind of swing the pendulum from cash and loans more towards TPO. So if you're interested in learning about that market, want some more support there, it's coming.
Nice. As always, the setter surge trainings are awesome. Attend your market development meeting. And I'm going to just breeze through one or two things from the newsletter yesterday. The summer sales contest is in full effect. So you can read Jonathan Budd's message to us all here, and you can even pull up the summer sales contest results right now. It's probably a few business days behind, but shout out real quick, Julian, Baron, Mitchell, Brian Rome, Benita on the call here, Eric Goldstein, Justin, Mitchell, Casper, Jack Sneed, Owen Carey, Jordan Shaw, Rick Joseph. Wow, Rick Joseph, Tom, you going to let him beat you?
If you keep scrolling down, it should be there.
All right.
I don't know. Maybe you have to scroll for a
Jim
little
Ford,
ways.
Muhammad, Rhino. Good seeing a lot of your names. Hey, look, there I am. My boy Brandon. All right, so you can see the contest results, but as Jonathan says, we're giving away tens and tens of thousands of dollars, an international trip. So get some points on the board, y'all. Hawaii, good news. Powerwall 3 domestic is available there for Good Leap. There's lower battery costs in a few states that is going live. And with the ITC going away, we have the best story and urgency to get people off of the fence. So just take a look at this newsletter. You know, I might touch on this in a second, but unfortunately, the Qtron 430s, if they're not part of the Good Leap Safe Harbor program, especially in California, will have to be change ordered to 410s or to Jinko 430s. So the team is working tirelessly every day on this. Kristen and Brett and the procurement team, it's always evolving. They have to work with CED. Hanwha Q Cells has challenges right now. So it's really tough stuff. So just please take a moment to read the article. This is not Powur only. This is industry wide. Change orders and being able to pivot and change and talk to your homeowners, that's on us. Okay, so change the mindset and let's get after it and help our customers with these promotions before the tax credit is gone. And there's a few other updates in here as well and other resources, new additions that you can go ahead
Hey,
and
scroll back up real quick. This was really cool. I was one more section there. This is really helpful. I was doing a battery quote in San Jose last night, and I couldn't find certain products. And I saw this little wizard thing in there, and I clicked on that, and you just type in like Powerwall 3, and it'll tell you why it's not showing up, you know, for me in San Jose. So it was super helpful to you know, to quickly know that, oh, that's why this product, you know, our equipment is not available in that certain market. So real helpful.
yeah, products are changing, market specific, lender specific. So again, that's on us to be the sophisticated, savvy consultant and stay up to speed with all of these items.
And I'll say there's not Powerwall 3, you know, supply problems. This just has to do with San Jose being a very difficult market to work in.
Got it. Right on. So make sure to read the newsletter, and then let's go ahead and try to get to the training. I'll let Tom do the Powur perspective of the day.
Yeah, if you guys have heard of David Goggins, drop a few words into the chat. Maybe one word that comes to mind when you think of him. You know, that could be pain. Yeah, relentless, disciplined, unbreakable, mindset, stay hard, yeah, endurance. So he's a former Navy SEAL, ultra marathoner, triathlete, motivational speaker, author, kind of widely known as the toughest man alive. He's the only person in the US military in history to complete SEAL training, Army Ranger School, and Air Force Tactical Air Controller training. So he came from an abusive, impoverished childhood and obesity. Came from that to tackling over 70 plus ultra distance races. And recently he finished the 2025 Bigfoot 200, which is 200 miles through Washington's Cascade Mountains, 30,000 plus foot elevation gain. And he finished 23rd overall. And even more remarkable is that he did this after 5 knee surgeries within the last 18 months and being told it was impossible. Jonathan, if you'll play the video on the left-hand side, this is him finishing the race. Yeah, he makes it look like it's just, you know, like just a normal marathon that a normal marathoner would do, not 200 miles. You know, he didn't run that 200 miles on talent. He did that by being disciplined and taking steps to be disciplined in his morning routine, day routine, evening routine. And that's kind of what we're chasing in our work. I think, you know, routines that we build like habits to have small wins that move, the needle for us closer to our goals. And I want you to hear about what his morning routine looks like, and then we'll close this up.
What does a morning look like for you at the moment? Have you got a routine of some kind?
Yes, I run every single morning. I'm up about 5:30. Every morning starts with a run. And that's because that's the one thing I hate to do more than anything in the world. I'm all about armoring yourself. The second you leave your house and the second you open your phone, the second you do any of that, you are now letting in poison and cancer. As I get up, I start to armor plate my mind and body. You have to wake up. You have to give yourself belief. You have to give yourself confidence. It starts with that run. So after the run, I come home, I eat something small.
How long's the run?
Nowhere under 12 miles.
And what are you getting that done in? How long?
Anywhere from about 1:30 to 2 hours, I run every day.
2 hours of meditation, 90 minutes to 2 hours of running.
And I'm in the gym.
How long's the gym session?
45 to an hour and a half.
You cycle as well?
Yeah.
How long are you cycling?
At least 3 or 4 days a week, I'll do that.
That's your day. There is no room for anything else.
Yeah, there is a lot of room.
I'm not telling you to have that kind of a morning routine. I'm not suggesting that. But what I am suggesting is to pick a few, 1, 2, 3 things that you can lock in every single morning before you check your phone, before you look on social media. That can be something like making your bed, meditating, exercising, hydrating, getting in sunlight, journaling. Maybe it's, making a note of the one thing that you have to do that day to move the needle forward in your business, no matter what. Studies show that routines, the things you do every morning, actually reduce decision fatigue, preserve mental energy for the rest of the day. So David Goggins didn't beat impossibility by accident, but by consistency and by building really purposeful habits in his life. So you don't have to have 500 hours of meditation every morning or run 5,000 miles before lunch. But think about what are the things that you want to do every single morning that will move the needle forward in your personal health, your mental health, your business, your relationships. Pick one thing and write that down by the end of today that you want to start focusing on. Jonathan, back to you.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate it. I love that armor plate, starting your day off right, especially. So last week we had the social media shareable of the week, this Tesla beautiful Powerwall system. So we posted that all over our social media today. Tom, you'll like that I asked ChatGPT to help make an image based on our training today, actually. So you can see no loan, no debt, no worries. 0 down, solar, rental, PPA, 25 years repairs, monitoring, insurance, battery replacement, no loan, no debt. Solar is a subscription. Save 20 to 50% off the electric bill with blackout protection. I'm stealing some of Jonathan Wilson's thunder here, but the image is in the chat and you can share that on social media or go make your own. Lastly, before I bring up the presenter, we have a story right now. The big, beautiful bill has ended the tax credit. You must sign up for ownership in the next 30 frickin' days. If you're pitching a power purchase agreement, especially safe harbored Powerwall 3 or Qtrons, those are limited supply in California. You have to act in the next few weeks to get this deal, period. It's also summertime, and by the way, we have a sales contest right now. So, I was talking to Jonathan Budd yesterday, and he basically said he's not happy that we were given this story and now sales are picking up. It's up to us to create our own story, to create our own urgency, to get that fire back in the valley, to, set that urgency and timeline. You have to do this by the end of the month for this reason, that reason, this reason. And so, we have the biggest story right now with the tax credit, the bill, and even for PPA. the price will go up and these safe harbored items will not last. So you really should take action in the next 3 to 4 weeks, Mr. Homeowner. So I would just take full advantage of this and plant the seed that come Q4, come winter, we will have to architect our own story and our own urgency and our own promotions. So I just wanted to convey that takeaway yesterday from Jonathan Budd. All right, so someone who who always does great at conveying that urgency is today's speaker. I'll just say a few bullet points about him. I know we're all excited to listen to his training. He's someone that's probably been in the industry over 14 years now. Some of you may know he actually sold my parents solar about 11 years ago because I couldn't sell them and he beat me to the punch. But he's very seasoned and knowledgeable, especially around TPO and PPA, which is what we must sell Q4 and beyond for the most part. And there is an art to it. He's had trainings. He gives trainings on this topic all the time. He's extremely ethical and passionate about helping his customers and sizing batteries correctly. And I would highly encourage you to get a notepad. Some of his one-liners and some of the things he says, it might go past you because it's really well said and really well done, and it has allowed him to make 7 figures plus in just referrals, mostly from TPO PPA. So Jonathan, we appreciate you coming on today, and please, you're looking good, man. Take it away.
Hey, thanks, guys. I just want to take a quick second, shout out everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I see Cynthia, David Steele. What's up, brother? I see Apollo's on. We got Jeff, Patrick Hubbard. I love what you're doing, bro, with your son. That's awesome. Steven Richardson, Tommy. I mean, there's so many awesome people on. So I want to make this valuable for you. There's 2 things I want to deliver for you. One is I want to make your sales process smoother, and I want to make you have higher margins, right? Can I do that for you guys? Can I give you higher margins? Is that cool? So I'm going to talk here in a sec. I'm going to share my screen, talk about why TPO is the #1 way to have higher margins. Now, I've never been a max rate person. I know there's, that's kind of a toxic culture that we have in the industry of people who want to max rate grandmas, right? There's a lot of memes about it. That's not what we're talking about. We're just talking about taking that shopper who is going to be looking at purchasing the system, which quite frankly, I can't wait till the tax credit's gone because it just incentivizes shopping and penny pinching and people going, oh, well, I found Chuck in the Truck is going to do it for $2,000 cheaper. And it's just a big problem, in our industry. It's that we sell a product based upon savings. So it incentivizes mentality of cheapest possible, most savings possible kind of a conversation. And I'm going to talk to you about right now why I think the #1 scam in our industry is not sizing batteries properly. I'm going to touch on that a little bit. I think that's a huge problem. I know we had an awesome training by Owen Carey the other day. Fantastic. He's super technically knowledgeable. We're going to talk about sizing, which he didn't really get to touch on. So if you missed that battery training, I don't know if they're going to post that, but check it out. So yeah, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen and we'll jump in. If you have questions, I'm going to try to keep my eye on the chat as well, or even just take yourself off mute. I'm very conversational. And yeah, I'm going to go into Coach Wilson mode. So here we go. All right, so don't mind all my tabs. That's how my brain works. All right, so first thing, we're going to do a quick SWOT analysis, which I just touched on. Which is what are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats in our space. So I'm a very strategic thinker. I would say that most people in my personal and professional life call me and ask me one question. They say, hey, Jonathan, how would you word this? That's the #1 question that I get. And I've built my entire career off of wording things the best possible. So I'm going to have a ton of one-liners. Definitely take notes. That'll slip right past you because I'm constantly using one-liners. Why TPO versus ownership? Obviously, the big beautiful bill is doing a lot of the heavy lifting for me now. I've been saying this for years, but now I don't really have to. The law says it. Pre-closing tactics, closing A to Z process, setting expectations, and referrals, which is, yes, I've done over 7 figures in commissions just on referrals. I know we've got some amazing referral trainers on here as well, but I'm going to talk about why once you combine TPO plus the referral, it's game over. You're going to make your time so much more efficient, your profitability go up. So let's talk about strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So like David Goggins, I'm going to try not to cuss as much as he does, but I get pretty angry. Anybody who knows me knows that one of my fuel sources is anger, okay? So Jonathan Smile, he knows what I'm talking about. We talk on a regular basis. So I'll try not to get too angry with you, but I'll just be completely transparent. That's what fuels me. I get pissed off on a Tuesday morning just like every other day. So here's one of the biggest complaints, anger, critiques, whatever you want to call it, that I have with our industry is that we don't know our competitors. We don't know the market. I see so many people, even top level professionals, that they kind of just wander into a closing process without understanding the fact that we're competing against people like Elon Musk, brilliant person, but he hates salespeople. He literally believes they bring zero value to the conversation. He's said things like that as such. And so, although I love the Tesla Powerwall 3, I sell it almost all the time. I don't like his philosophy on sales, right? I've been built my entire career. I've been doing sales since I was 13 years old, door to door, painting addresses on curbs. So my entire life's built around being a salesperson, and people who want to say that sales are going away, I would tend to agree with them, right? Sales, AI, digital platforms are going to make sales more complex and more difficult. And if you can't position yourself against those people properly, you will lose business, right? Who's lost business to Tesla? Right? Who's lost business to Monali, which I heard they're going bankrupt, by the way. Thank freaking baby Jesus. Project Solar, they have really funny ads that make fun of people that look like me, right? And so they've got some really interesting marketing strategies, and those are only going to continue, right? So you need to understand what is your anecdote, or what is your way to combat these aggressive players in the market. And trust me, I don't like losing, just like the rest of you, I'm sure. And it makes me quite pissed off. And I'll be honest, like I get kind of happy when Monali goes bankrupt. To call it negative or toxic, but that's just me. All right, solar and battery as a service. So here is why this is the future of the industry. So let me just kind of break this down real quick. So a lot of people believe, oh, selling solar, anybody who knows how to use a calculator, all the nerds with their spreadsheets go, oh, but it costs more to do a PPA. All right, well, I'll get to you in just a second. Sit down. We're going to talk about batteries. Oh, well, batteries, that's more expensive. It adds a ton of cost, right? Who said in their sales pitch in their career, oh, you don't need a battery, it's too expensive, right? And one of the biggest challenges that I have as a seasoned pro is I have to constantly be unlearning things, right? I often say, one of my one-liners I'll say to customers in houses, say, Mr. and Mrs. Customer, I have about 4 hours of unique content with zero redundancy. So I have to strategically pick which information I share with you that applies to your situation, right? I can't, if I were to give you everything that I know, it would take way too long, right? I'm sure there's going to be an AI version of somebody like me in the near future that can just kind of give you every single answer. You know, Tom's already working on it. But the bottom line is that the battery as a service is the future, not solar. I just want to say that absolutely. I don't care if you're in a market that, oh, well, we don't have, like, net billing tariff like you do in California. I don't care. Solar is a dead conversation. If you're saying solar in your sales pitch, like, you're already way behind the ball. And if you're getting people that are pushing back on you and saying, oh, well, is this solar? Oh, we looked into solar. Okay, cool. Well, then you got to innovate yourself, disrupt yourself. It's battery, the entire conversation. So I'm going to say this. I do a lot of referral business. I do try to do a one call close, but obviously, even if you're really good, you can't always close them all. And so, one of the encouragements I'm going to have for you now, if you're, listening right now, watching this, is one of the things I do when I'm calling up past customers that I've talked to, kind of going through that follow-up list. And maybe you already do this, but I say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, I was just thinking of you. There's actually been something really interesting that's come across my desk, right? There's something new that just came out. Right. And it's always just kind of refreshing. There's a new promotion. Hey, there's a new incentive. Hey, there's something new that's just changed in our industry. And I wanted to let you know about it, so you have, the best information. Right. And so that's one way you can spark some business. Like, I want to follow that commitment, those two, get more business, earn higher margins. I'm going to show you that second part in a second. So right now, if you've had conversations with people, maybe on the doors, on the phones, and if you're like, still probably 90% of the industry, even in California, you're still using that bad word, that S word, right? You're still saying solar in your pitch. I would even recommend changing the way you frame yourself. Like, you're not a solar expert, you're a home energy storage expert. That's what you do. You're an expert in home energy storage. And, you know, I didn't make this up. I got this from Mary Powell of Sunrun a couple years ago after Net Metering 3 came out. They reframed all of their messaging. And so if a multi-billion-dollar company is reframing all their messaging and you're still saying solar, like you're behind, right? And I just want to make that really clear. And so, you know, they position themselves as America's leading energy storage or home energy storage service provider, something to that effect, right? And so here's why we're going to talk about why, you know, sizing the batteries, why battery as a service specifically is the future, not just because the big beautiful bill that just kind of solidified it, but really I hope if you're somebody who's maybe sold against TPO or against PPAs, you know, again, I have the wind at my back. It's policies forcing it now, but even if it wasn't, I hope I can open your mind to think a little bit better about this. So here's a couple, 3 bullet points for you. You can earn a higher margin commission. Why? Well, it's not rocket science, but most people don't understand the difference between 18 and 20 cents on a PPA, right? They don't even know what that is, right? So now, does that mean that the market's always going to be that way? No. You know, when I first started doing PPAs in 2018, you know, Edison's rates were about 17 cents for tier 1. And tier 2, I think it was like 24 cents or something like that back then. And I was selling PPAs 17 to 19 cents back then, right? And some people are like, that's crazy. Like I just sold an 18-cent PPA a couple weeks ago with batteries, right? So things have changed. But basically, you know, there's some ambiguity. Now customers get more, you know, savvy, especially in California, lots of PPAs. There's, you know, I don't have the exact numbers, probably about 1 million people or so have PPAs. So people start to like learn, okay, well, this is a good rate. That's not a good rate. They kind of have a little bit of an idea, but I think that's to our benefit because again, you know, when you're trying to have a sustainable business operating on, you know, less than a 15% margin, like many solar companies do, it's just not sustainable, right? There's a reason I've stayed in this industry a long time. It's because I've been able to command a high enough margin to stay in business when there's constant changes, constant, right? I've been doing this 12 years, actually not 14, but about 12 and a half years. And the constant is change. And so, you know, reduces friction in the buying experience, easier pill to swallow. We talk about some of the benefits, although I don't think benefit selling is the highest form of selling. It does help, right? So benefit selling, things like no loan, no debt, doesn't affect your DTI. There's a production guarantee, battery replacement is big in California. And then also it's easier to refer. I always say it's like, you know, if you're referring your friend to do a $20, $30, $50,000 project, I mean, that's a big referral, right? But when you're referring somebody, hey, it's a utility switch, we're going to give you solar as a service. That's another key phrase. We're going to do a solar as a service. Basically, you're switching electric providers from fill in your utility company from SCE over to GoodLeap as your new utility provider. They're going to monitor, warranty, ensure, guarantee the system's production for the entire life of the system. All you do, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowners, you just pay a cheaper electric bill. Now, here's the key with referrals. The more simple you make your pitch, the more simple it is for that customer to go pitch it to their friends and family, right? One of the reasons, probably not the number one, but one of the big reasons a lot of people don't get a lot of referrals is because their pitch is too complicated. Maybe afterwards they listen to, I love Owen Carey, he's great, we both nerd out, but you listen to an Owen Carey, you listen to somebody who's super, and you go, wow, this person knows what they're doing. I'm going to go with them. I'm going to sign the contract, but I have no idea how to tell my friends and family about this, right? This is way too complicated. You know, best case, they're just going to say, hey, go talk to Owen, which that works, right? I tell people to say that too, but you want to make it so simple that they can refer it. And we'll talk about some of that. Closing mindsets. We're going to get into some of the pre-game mindsets, right? So Coach Wilson here telling you, get your head in the game, right? This is our locker room talk before the game starts. So before you go into any game, I always try to set an intention for myself, right? I do this for myself. I teach my team this, is there's kind of a few different emotional states you want to be in. You want to make sure you're light, right? Literally, you know, sales is about keeping things light, quick on your feet. Even keel pace, Brunasso's great at this, right? Kind of just a steady pitch, not too high energy, not too low energy. And then something called pacing and leading, which is you want to have a little bit more enthusiasm than the person you're selling to or talking with, but not too much more. That's out of rapport. Framing, building trust cycles. One of my favorite things I teach my guys on the doors is one of the fastest ways to build trust and kind of, hack the psychology, if you will, of trust is literally say you're going to do something like 1 minute, 60 seconds, whatever, 5 minutes before you actually do it. So I do this throughout my entire closing process. I'll say something like, okay, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, here in a minute, we're going to talk about X, Y, and Z. But before we get to that, let me tell you about this. Boom, boom, boom. And then after I go over that, I get to the X, Y, and Z, right? And you can do that on the doors by saying, in just a second, I'm going to go check your meter on the side of your house. Before we do that, are you the one that pays the electric bill here? Okay, cool. All right. So I'm going to have you pull that up for me on your phone. I'm going to go check the side of the house. Is it on this side or that side? Okay, awesome. Then you turn and go do that. Now, it sounds like a weird little thing, but when you literally tell somebody psychologically you're going to do something and then you fulfill that commitment, even if it's just seconds later, it does a weird thing where it actually goes, okay, this person's doing what they say they're going to do. And it actually triggers them to do that within themselves and reciprocate. Okay, well, I'm going to go do that. I just told him I was going to pull it up on my phone. Now I'm going to pull it up on my phone. We're going to talk about how to reduce buying pressure. I'm a very low pressure salesperson, believe it or not, even if I do close at a high percentage, because that's the key, right? The entire closing process. My customers generally don't ever say yes to going solar. I was on a different call the other day and I had someone ask me, what's one of your big closing questions, Jonathan? And I said, I don't have a closing question. Like the entire sales process is me closing them on why I am the best for them to go with and why I've done my homework and due diligence for them. I'm their expert shopper, if you will. And I know and they believe that with conviction because I have conviction about what I'm saying, that there's no like, oh, well, hey, does this make sense to you? Or do you have any questions before we move forward? Any of these other common closing questions, which I've used them in the past, but it's really not why you close, right? I just want to make that clear. There's no secret closing question. I don't believe in that personally. The entire sales process of solar is about buying time, right? And so everyone's heard, well, not everyone, but a lot of people have heard the whole, sell the site survey pitch. I'll be honest, I still do that a lot. I don't think that's the only part of the close. If you're only selling on the site survey, obviously you're going to get a high cancel rate. But I think that whether you're on the doorstep, on the phone, or at the kitchen table, you constantly need to be looking for how to buy a little bit more time, right? Because time is where you can build trust and relationship. And if you don't have that time and you don't know how to buy time, then you're cutting that time short with the customer. And therefore that trust and that relationship is cut short. And there's a higher probability that that's not going to be a sticky deal, right? They're going to talk to somebody else. They're going to get a second opinion. I don't get a lot of customers I used to in the past that would say, oh, I went on, looked at reviews, right? Who's lost a deal to reviews? Okay. I'll pause for a sec. Lost deal to reviews. All right. Coach Wilson here. It's not because of the reviews. It's because of you. Okay. I'm going to give you a little bit of hard truth on a Tuesday. It's not because of the reviews. It's because of you. It's because you don't know how to adequately build trust in the actual home or in the conversation. So they have to go elsewhere because they don't trust you. Okay, we're going to talk about 8 miling the customer. Anybody who's seen Eminem 8 Mile, they know what I'm talking about, where he's freestyle rapping and he says all the different things against himself, putting himself down because it takes away all the ammunition, right, from his opponent. And that's what we do in sales. I always say I have one of the most negative closing processes in the entire solar industry. And I still believe that that's true. And the reason I do that is because if I talk about the negatives, again, when it comes to reviews specifically, and I say, oh yeah, you know what, customer service is an issue, this is an issue, that, and I go through the 3 to 5 common issues in solar, do you think they're going to need to go online to find that? They don't need to, because like, oh, this guy's super honest with me. He's honest to a fault. I got told that by my own brother the other day. I was like, yeah, you're probably right. I am a little bit honest to a fault. And so, when it comes down to the, 8 miling the customer, if you give them all of that and they go, man, this guy, like, he's just so straightforward, they're going to buy from you and they're not going to need to. But whenever I hear, I'm coaching, I do a lot of coaching with people and I hear them say, oh, the customer said that this is too good to be true. First of all, they just did you a huge favor by saying that. And what that really means is you suck as a salesperson. Okay. So if anybody's ever said, people have said that to me, right? I'm not the only one that sucks here. Right. But if you've ever gotten said that, it's like, I just want you to know right now from Jonathan Charles Wilson, you suck. You're not a good salesperson. Okay. So the reason that they're saying that is because they're literally telling, and most people won't even say that. They'll just think this sounds good to be too good to be true. And they won't have the courtesy to tell you that. And then they're going to go look for what the actual truth is. They're going to go look online, right? They're going to go talk to their friends. They're going to go do whatever because they don't believe you. Understanding buying profile, that's a whole other training we'll skip through. We're going to skip the common objections, jump in because I like to talk if you guys can't tell, but you know, objection handling is a big part of this. We're going to kind of just build it into the process. So here's the entire process. Now, here's what I do personally. If I'm on a Zoom call or in house, I actually take out a notepad and I write right next to me these first about 10 to 12 steps. You know, once I kind of get into the flow personally, because I've done this, I've been in over 2,000 homes at this point, it just kind of flows. But sometimes if my head's in a different place, I'm talking, you know, solving a different problem, I'm not really in the game, I'll even remind myself and kind of do bullet points. Okay, the first step is primary question discovery. Second step, you know, is the problem, and then solution. And I'll kind of just give myself some bullets just to keep myself on track before I get into the close, right? Because sometimes, and here's why I do that. Because one, I believe that if I skip steps, I lose sales. And I believe that because I've seen that, right? I've done this. I'm sure anyone who's closed a lot of sales in this business, Tom shaking his head, thanks for that affirmation there, Tom. It's so true. It's like we've all skipped steps in our process and thought, oh, this is just a done deal, especially on referrals, right? This is the biggest mistake I see with referrals. People, they go out of process, right? They skip talking about the problem. They skip talking. They go, oh, what's a referral? It's a done deal. Oh, the customer seems really positive, really happy. Okay, don't be fooled, right? There's only two types of people, I always say. I've said this a million times to Jeff Martin on the call, if you're still on here, bro. I always say there's two types of people. There's buyers and then there's liars, okay? Right? So most people, it's not because they're bad people. It's because they're defending their own interests. They're going to lie to your face every single day, right? And that's why a lot of people can't do sales. They can't deal with good human beings lying to their face every single day. Kind of makes you have a bad opinion, right? But basically, all you need to know is if you skip steps, and what I'm going to cover today, you're going to potentially leave yourself open for somebody to basically come back to you later, right? Oh, well, what about this? You didn't address that. Oh, well, I talked to this person and they addressed that, right? And you're kind of, if you're not being comprehensive in your approach, you're leaving money on the table. So we're going to talk about discovery. Obviously, you know, not too much on that, but rapport. I don't really do a lot of the, I don't know, I'll say cheesy rapport things where I feel like I have to talk about lots of personal things, unless if it's something that genuinely sparks my interest. I don't really have a ton of interest. Like I'm not big into sports or things like that, or things I can just riff on. So I generally skip a lot of the, you know, common rapport strategies. But basically the bottom line here, whenever I'm at, you know, at the kitchen table or something like that, is I just want to set the frame of the conversation. So we're going to talk about how I do that. Plans kind of for the day. So the first thing I always do, whether I'm on the phone or in house, is I frame the conversation around time, right? Time is always the biggest frame. So if on the phone, it's, hey, I'll keep this real quick. The reason I'm calling is ... boom, 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 right? Something about, or if I'm knocking on the door, hey, I'll keep it brief. The reason why I'm here is boom. Hey, before we get started in today's process, before I explain everything, you know, do you have anything planned for after this meeting? Any plans for the rest of the day? Right? And you can do it real casual, but basically you just want to kind of understand how much time you have right in the beginning. And then the first question, I call it one of my two primary questions when I kick the meeting off. I do this on the phone a lot. You can do it at the door. You can do it pretty much anywhere in the process, but I like to do it early. Is I'll say something like this. You know, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, what do you already know about solar? Right? Tell me what you already know about solar. What do you already know? Have you looked into solar before? That's another variation of it. It's kind of saying the same thing. Have you looked into solar before? Okay, cool. The second part, almost if not more important, is okay, cool, especially if they've looked into solar. Let's assume most people have looked into solar. If you haven't, you're in a market they haven't, then awesome. It's even easier for you. But let's just say you're in a market where people have looked into solar. I say, okay, cool. Well, can I just ask you straight up, like, why didn't you do it? What was your reason for holding off on solar? Right? And you want to get straight down to the bottom line. I mean, that's the bottom line, right? You're not wasting anybody's time. You know, people have that feeling when they talk to me. It's like, dude, this guy, like, I've even had husband and wife on the other line, like, quick, honey, quick, give him the answer. He's got to go. Like, you know, they can feel it in my voice and my tone. And it's like, okay, well, you know, why didn't you guys do it before? Oh, well, it was this, was okay, cool. Yeah, a lot of my homeowners, it's just not the right time. Hopefully, after we go over everything today, you'll see that this is the right time, right company, and hopefully right salesperson to help walk you through this process. And that's my goal for today, is if I do such a good job for you that you'll want to refer me to your friends and family. Is that fair? Okay, cool. So that's the goal of today's meeting. And then I'll jump into kind of what's the main, I would say the main objective. The main objective is to get a site survey to see if your house qualifies, right? Because we could talk about solar all day. I can give you tons of great information, which I'll do here in a moment. But the main objective is we need to get a site survey done. Before we can get that site survey done, we have to get your application completed. And then obviously go over any questions you might have about how this all works. Right? So notice how I start with the end in mind and I kind of go backwards. Right? I'm setting the frame. In the very beginning, you need to have the beginning and the end very tight, like in the very first couple minutes of the conversation. Right? Where do we start? Where are we going? Where does this thing end? Right? Because then it puts the customer at ease. Right? Has anybody ever had a customer that's just like checking their watch, like, okay, I gotta go, I gotta do this, like blah, blah, blah. Okay, because you didn't frame the conversation, right? You didn't frame the time and you didn't frame the actual physical objective of we need to get this site survey scheduled. Okay, that's the main reason why I'm here. Obviously, to give you some information, help you with the application process, and then ultimately get your site survey scheduled to see if this is going to be a good fit for your home or not. Okay, cool. So after I go over that framing, that discovery, that first 2 to 5 minutes, I jump into the problem. Now, here's what a lot of people do. They actually skip this step. For maybe they don't think it's that important. Maybe they assume, hey, I've already got a captive audience and they're just anxious within themselves. So they just go, okay, I just need to jump into the benefits and the solution. I would say that there's really 3 levels of salespeople, right? There's kind of the order takers, which those people make a couple $100s, sitting at a car dealership or on the phones, and they just take inbound leads, right? People walk in the door. Right, you don't make a lot of money on that. We all know that. That's why we're not doing that business, because it's a crap business. Because you can't pay for your bills doing that. That's order taking. You guys aren't order takers. Some of you guys on the call, be honest with you, you're level 2 salespeople. You're benefit sellers, right? We've been taught this over the years. It was old school sales strategy. Oh, well, you got to sell them on the benefits. Talk about what they're going to get, the result. I think that's partially true, right? Obviously, you need to talk about the result. You need to talk about the benefit, but I actually don't think that's the highest level of selling. I believe that the highest level of selling is selling people problems, really explaining and helping them understand deeply in their emotions what their problem is. Because a lot of people, the problem is you think that they have a problem, but they don't think they have a problem. You go out and pitch your product and you talk about it as if there's a problem. And they're like, yeah, you know what, Jonathan, my $700 electric bill, that's not my problem. I really could care less. Right. But I think, oh, $700 bill, that sounds huge. Right. So here's one of the things to take away right away. A really good seasoned salesperson, when they're qualifying the customer in the beginning, especially, I see this mistake all the time, is they go, oh, I have a $700 average electric bill. I had one of those a couple of weeks ago. I didn't go, oh, wow, that's a really high electric bill. Let's see how much we can save you. And that's level 2. Level 3, I said, oh, really? I said, you know what? I actually see that quite often. Unfortunately, that's kind of becoming the new reality, right? These rates just keep going up. Honestly, $700 is kind of the norm now, right? I'm normalizing and minimizing their pain, right? Who here has a spouse and they try to minimize their spouse's pain and that didn't work out very well? Right? Because there's strategic ways you can actually get people's emotions to come up, right? One of the strategies is minimizing their problem. Oh, really? Only $700? That's pretty low. Okay, cool. So when you do that, you start talking about the problem. So here's the way I frame the problem. So I'll say this on the phone call as well. So let's say I get a referral, I'm talking to somebody and they're saying, oh yeah, I got your information. Oh, hey, thanks for taking a few minutes to hop on this call. Let me just kind of break down how this works. Before I jump into that though, have you guys looked into solar before? Tell me what you already know about solar. Boom, they hit me with this, that. Okay, cool. Well, let me just kind of break down what the big problem right now in California is, Tom. The problem, I don't know if you've heard, but the laws have changed in the way your power is being delivered to your home. So actually about half of your electric bill is just delivery cost to ship it to your house. Have you ever noticed that? Or are you like the rest of us where you just pay the bill and toss it? Oh, you just pay the bill and toss it? Okay, cool. Well, If you look at it now, you'll notice about half that bill is just delivery costs to ship it to your house. It's kind of like Uber Eats or Postmates if you ever use that. It costs double just to have it shipped to your house, where you could just, you know, stop being lazy and go drive and get it yourself. Ha ha ha. Right? The problem is that shipping that. So now here's the way this works. It's really simple. If your home qualifies with these new programs, we can generate 100% of your power on site, store it in batteries for nighttime use, and do it at a cheaper price than you're currently paying to your utility. Now, here's the catch. Not every home qualifies, right? You know, I would say about 1 in 2 homes, 1 in 3 homes really are a good fit for this program. And hey, if it does qualify, great, take advantage, but I'm not the decision guy. I'm not here to help you make a decision. I'm just here to see if your home qualifies. That's my job. And so what that looks like is I just need 2 things from you. One, we're going to take a look at your utility bill. Do you pay that online? Are you the one that handles that? Okay, cool. After this call, I'm going to shoot you a text message with my email, or you can reply to that text with a copy of your most recent statement. And then the second thing is we just need to find a time for me to swing by and take a look at the property, see if it's a good fit or not. I know you got referred to me by Susan out in Moreno Valley, Tom. I'm actually not going to be in Moreno Valley until, you know what, it looks like maybe Thursday or Friday afternoon. I might be around. Will you be around the house around 6, 7 p.m.? Okay, cool. All right, well, let me go ahead and swing by. Let me just make a note here. I'll swing by. Yeah. I'll swing by, and then let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, I'll see you this Thursday around 6, 7 p.m. Sound good? All right, I'll see you then. So that's kind of an example of a phone pitch, but in the sale, I'm doing that deeper. I'm just going much deeper. So obviously into the solution. So when I'm getting into the problem in the house, I mean, if I can go 10, 15 minutes, and here's the goal, if I can get the customer to curse, I won. It's like, if I can get the customer pissed off at their utility company, game over, right? That's the ultimate goal. And so when I'm explaining the problem, you know, I'll say a lot of the things that you just heard me say in that phone pitch, but I'll kind of go a little bit deeper, and I'll show them on their bill. We call this killing the bill, right? And you start looking at the bill. Have you ever noticed all these fees? I like to point out the public purpose program. If you've ever seen that on the Edison bill, say, have you ever noticed that? Do you know what that fee is? That's actually for all your neighbors who are on the CARE program. Isn't that crazy? You have to pay for their utility bill because they can't afford it. That's the state we live in. California is awesome. You know, we call it California. Ha ha ha. Make sure they're not a Democrat. No, I'm just kidding. No, but you want to play into the emotion, right? You want to, whatever their emotion is, you want to play into it, right? Either side. I don't care which political side they're on. I take advantage. Okay. That's just me personally. So the solution, hey, the solution's real simple. If your home qualifies for a cheaper utility rate, basically here's how this works. Now, this part's really important. I want you to record this in your brain. This is probably one of the most money-making pieces of this conversation that you're going to have. So you're going to say this. So the process is really simple, Tom. What we're going to do today is we're going to build a project that meets your home's needs, and we're going to submit it to a couple different solar utility providers and see who kicks us back the best rate. Why did I say it that way? Because I don't want them to think that I'm setting the price. Here's one of the biggest hacks to why I don't like selling ownership versus TPO, because on ownership with a cat, they go, oh, well, there's a dollar amount there. Oh, it's $36,526.52. That's negotiable now. Right? That's negotiable. Thank you.
John,
Yeah,
can you say that line again, just so everyone heard what you just said?
Yes. So I'll say, all right, Tom, so today it's really simple. We're going to build a project for you that meets your family's energy needs. And then we're going to submit that to a couple different solar utility providers, and they're going to kick us back a rate. Hopefully it's better than what you're paying now, fingers crossed.
I love that, guys. I hope you all heard that line. Thanks, John.
Thanks, brother. Yep. So I could do another hour, but yeah, I got to wrap this up. That's the problem. I was talk too much, man. Usually this is like a 45-minute to an hour training. So here's the thing, 2 ways to go solar. So basically this is the way I frame it. You can either do like some people do, which is you decide to buy the equipment, but let's be honest, who wants to spend $30,000 to $40,000 just to save a couple $100 a month? Am I right? Okay, if they agree to me there, loan is dead. I don't give them options. I'm not the options guy. I know a lot of people like selling on options. Oh, I'm the options guy. I mean, you know, I'm not the options guy. I'm trying to kill options. Okay. Because if they, oh, you looked into it before. Okay, cool. What'd you look into? Oh, I got a quote from Tesla. Awesome. Why didn't you do it? Oh, well, it was like $35,000. I know that's crazy, right? Just to save a couple $100 a month. Who the heck would do that? That makes zero sense. Okay, cool. No, I'm not gonna, oh, well, there's a sun gauge loan and it's 8.9 and there's no fees and it's the same as cash and I'm a nerd. You know, we don't need to do that, right? It's like, we just literally go, hey, cool. We actually have this other option. It's called a power purchase agreement. Have you ever heard about it? Okay, cool. It's basically solar as a service. So all we're doing is we're taking your PG&E electric service provider and we're switching it for GoodLeap, for a better service provider. And here's the thing about that service. We're going to provide you, battery backup off-grid. You can hit them with the benefits, right? Hit them with all the benefits. Cool. And if we can do that for a lower price than you're paying to your utility right now, that would be a no-brainer, right? Okay, cool. So that's our goal for today. I'm going to build that project for you. We're going to talk about your needs, your future needs, like discovery, blah, 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 EVs, pool, blah, all that stuff. Cool. So moving right along, you're qualifying them. So here's one of the big things about qualifying, then we'll jump into this next part. So when it comes to qualifying, you want to make sure you're qualifying people negatively. What that means is all my qualifying questions, I'm going for no. This is, I got this from Chris Voss basically before he even, came up with it, but apparently I'm a hostage negotiator. That's my calling in life. But basically what you want to do is you want to frame things negatively, right? So what that means is, hey, the big problem is that not everybody qualifies for this program. So let me just run you through a few of those qualifications. The first really big one is tree shade, right? Do you guys have like a lot of trees like covering your roof? Oh, no. Okay, cool. I got my first no. Okay, the second big one that disqualifies homes is if they have, a bad roof or roof leaks. Have you guys had any problems with roof leaks? Okay, no. Okay, perfect. So we'll obviously have to double check that though before we can guarantee what we're talking about today. But assuming that your roof does pass our inspections, fingers crossed, then that's a good news for you. The third one is that somebody on the home has to have at least a 650 credit score. Will that be a problem for you? No, it's not a problem. Okay, cool. Why am I saying it that way? Because I want them to qualify to me. Because in sales dynamics, a lot of times the problem is that you're trying to qualify to them and you sound desperate and needy, like you need the sale, when it needs to be the other way around. So that's why I frame them negatively. Also, when people say no, they feel psychologically safe than when they say yes. I don't want yeses. I want people to say no. And if people say no, I lean into it. They go, oh yeah, you know what? My roof actually has had a lot of leaks. And I go, oh no, that's terrible. You know what? Honestly, you might not be a good fit for this program then. In some cases, after they survey the house, they can actually see if there's a little extra budget to cover any roof repairs, but sometimes not. I don't know. Unfortunately, I'm not the final decision maker here. Let's see what the survey says. Okay. All right. Geez, it's already 11 o'clock. Can I go a few minutes over, guys?
Yeah, maybe shoot for 5 minutes and we can wrap. I know you have so much content here, and I actually just love what you just said. Like sometimes there's some room to cover some roof work or some electrical, but we're gonna find out after the survey and the scope of work and the engineers. Like
Right,
if you
correct.
guys aren't communicating with some of this lingo, you're setting yourself up for failure. All right, John,
Fair.
5 minutes.
The quick bullets here, explain the process. So then after I go into the qualifications, I say, okay, so one of the biggest downsides to this program is it's a pretty long process. I know you said you don't really know anybody that's gone solar, but it's about a 3 to 5 month process minimum. And let me explain why. Boom, I go through the bullets. Hey, today we're just doing the initial meeting. The next step is obviously that site survey we've talked about. After the site survey, we're going to get our final design engineer plan, scope of work. We're going to see if there's any surprises that popped up. Hopefully not, right? Hopefully everything I'm talking to you about today ends up staying final. After that, you're going to make your final decision. So here's the thing. 100% of my homeowners, Tom, have made the decision to go solar when I'm not here. Right? That's a one-liner I use all the time. 100% of my homeowners, Tom, have made the decision to go solar when I'm not here. That's not my job today. We're going to go over the application process in just a minute. Go through all that. You're going to have those documents to review over the next 2 to 3 weeks while we figure out if this is going to be a good fit for us or not. Okay. So, and then you're going to make, just to make it abundantly clear, you're going to make that final decision once we send you the results 2 to 3 weeks after the site survey. Okay. Once we get those results back, if you decide, hey, let's do this, let's pull the trigger. Awesome. We're going to go ahead and submit to permits. Permits can take several weeks. If you don't hear from me during that time, that's actually a good sign. That means that we're busy trying to get permit approvals, right? I'm buying myself time, right? If you don't hear from me, that's actually good news, right? I set the frame of that. Okay, cool. And then after we get that back, we're going to reach out for scheduling. Now, here's the crazy part. The actual solar battery installation is the easiest part. It's only about 1 to 2 day process. Now, you will have a slight loss of power for 1 to 2 hours while I switch your service over. Other than that, it's all exterior, so it's pretty non-invasive. They'll be obviously making a little bit of noise here and there. It's construction, but after that's done, we submit all the final applications for city permit approval, utility permission to operate. That's a waiting game. Once it's installed, you're almost at the halfway point of this process. So I say that because they're going to be like, oh, well, when is the system on, right? They're going to forget. Hey, it's fine if you forget. I'm here to answer questions, not only before, during, but actually after your system is activated. Selfishly, Mr. and Mrs. Homeowner, I want to answer all your questions throughout this process because I hope that if I do a good job, you're going to want to refer me to your friends and family. Okay, cool. Net metering, I explained that. Obviously, I won't go into that right now. A lot of us know how that works, but this is one of the biggest problems I see currently in California is undersizing batteries. Why are people doing it? Quite frankly, because they're bad salespeople. They want to make a higher margin. The customers don't know any different and they take advantage of their ignorance, or maybe they're just ignorant themselves. Here's what I'm going to tell you right now. Listen to me, don't or reap the consequences. If you're not sizing your batteries at 3 times the nameplate capacity of the solar system, your customers are going to have significant true-up bills. What does that even mean? Okay, if you sold somebody a 10 kilowatt system, what's 3 times that? 30 kilowatts of battery. Some people say, oh, well, but there's all these other people that do, tell me 1.5 to 2 times is enough. It's not. I sized my own family 3.9 times the size. A 6.8 kilowatt system, 27 kilowatts of battery backup. Guess how much time they're on the power grid? 1% or less. They're 100% off grid. Okay, so if you want to have that experience, then, do it the right way. I talk about the pitfalls of solar. I won't go into that too much here, but I talk about like the negatives, customer service issues, roof leaks, transferability when you sell the house. That's a massive one we didn't even have time to really get into, but I talk about how the PPA is the easiest to transfer of all the different types, obviously, except for cash paid off solar. There's nothing to transfer, but PPAs are the easiest to transfer of the 3: leases, loans, PPAs. Present the pricing. So I don't even present pricing until typically 40 to 50 minutes into the presentation, right? I'm doing all this, building value, demonstrating everything. And then once I get to the price, it's quick. Okay, here's your system. Here's the price. Here's why I designed it that way. We talked about the battery sizing. Boom, boom, boom. Cool. Next step's real simple. We're going to go through this application process. Have you ever done DocuSign before? You have? Okay, awesome. I'm going to send you some DocuSign. I'm going to give you the bullet points to each of these documents. I'm not going to cover them all extremely in depth. I've already covered most of the main stuff in this presentation, but you're going to have copies of that to review over the next 2 to 3 weeks while we survey the house and see if it's a good fit for us or not. Okay. And then after that, you're wrapping it up. You're going to scheduling the site survey. So the document signing, that's a whole training probably in itself too, but I'm just giving bullet points. I'm not even going to do it right now. It's just time wise, but I go through the bullets and then after that, I just confirm the site survey date. And then I talk about referrals again with the takeaway. Hey, obviously we don't know if your home is a good fit or not. So we won't talk about referrals too much, but we do have this $1,000 ambassador program. But first, let's just wait and see if your home is actually a good fit or not. Fair enough? Cool. All right. And that's it. Shake their hand, walk out the door. So thank you guys for your time. I hope you got some value from this. Maybe a couple minutes for takeaways, or hit me up on social media, Jonathan Charles Wilson. I'm happy to have a one-on-one conversation. I love coaching reps and helping them make more money.
Awesome. Thank you, John. Yeah, I wish we could go longer. We're going to have to do part 2 of this for you. You have really good content. The things you say and the way you say it, for the rest of the team out here, if I'm thinking that some of these lines are cool, then that should be new material and awesome ways to communicate for you as well. And I've been doing this 11 years. So yeah, as always, thanks. Some love in the chat for Jonathan here. This recording will be put up on YouTube so you can watch it again, share it. Obviously, Jonathan is a premier California closer, premier TPO closer. And as we move into Q4 and beyond, TPO is going to be pretty much the only thing sold. So I love that you're giving us this preparation. Solar as a service. We're going to send it out to some utility solar providers, see what rates come back. Why spend 40, 50, 60,000 to save a few $100? Lots of great nuggets. And I especially like the, most of my customers decide this when I'm not here, but we need to get the application going and put you in the line and get the process started if we're going to make the benefits and the rebates in the program. So
Right.
good stuff as always, John. I appreciate you. We do need to cut this here. But yeah, reach out to John, follow him on social media, and I look forward to seeing you all soon. Have a great week. Let's get it. Thanks, John.
Thanks, guys.